If a man tells you he's too busy, but he's on social media every single night, my darlings, you are not what he's busy with. Stop. Read that again. You are not what he is busy with. I need you to sit with that for a moment because I know exactly how uncomfortable that feels. I know because I spent the better part of 4 months at 23 years old refusing to feel it. Every morning I picked up my phone. Every morning there was nothing. And every morning I told myself the exact same story. He's overwhelmed right now. He's going through something difficult. He's not good at showing how he feels. He'll come around. Just give him time. My darlings, not one of those words came from him. I wrote every single one of them myself because the truth was sitting right in front of me and I refused to look at it directly. I was 23. I was smart. I was ambitious. I thought I knew myself. And yet there I was, building an entire story around a man's silence, just so I wouldn't have to admit that the silence was the answer. Today, all these decades later, I am here to tell you what nobody told me then. When a man truly wants you in his life, you will not be sitting alone at night, making up reasons for why he hasn't called. You will know. You will always know, because he will make sure of it. My darlings, I want you to understand something, and I want you to understand it deeply, not just in your head, in your body, in your gut. Men do not let go of what they want. Not real wanting, not the kind that matters. A man who wants to build something with you does not let work stop him, does not let exhaustion stop him, does not let distance stop him, does not let fear stop him. I have watched men in my life move across entire cities for women they loved. I have watched men give up habits they had for decades, change careers, change plans, change direction completely for the right person. My husband Chester was on a business trip once. Important meetings, early mornings, different time zone. He was exhausted. He told me later he barely slept that week. But one evening, he was walking through the hotel lobby and he saw a phone at the front desk. He asked the receptionist if he could use it for 2 minutes. She said yes. He called me. Not because something was wrong, not because he needed anything, just to hear my voice for 90 seconds. That was all. My darlings, I want you to think about that for a moment. He was tired. He was in a different country. He had every reason in the world not to call, and he still found a way. Because that is what wanting someone actually looks like. Not grand romantic gestures, not expensive surprises, just a man who sees a phone in a hotel lobby and thinks of you. So the next time someone tells you they've been too busy, I want you to remember my husband Chester and that hotel lobby. And ask yourself one question. Is this man finding a way, or is he finding excuses? Because, my darlings, those two things look nothing alike. Even when the excuses sound very reasonable, even when they sound like the truth. Now let me tell you about Daniel. I have never told this story quite this way before, but I think you need to hear all of it. I was 22 years old when I met him. It was at a dinner party, one of those evenings where everyone is dressed up and nobody is really saying anything honest. And then Daniel walked in, and I felt it immediately, that shift in the room. He was tall, he was confident. He had a way of moving through a space like he already owned it. And he looked at me across the room and smiled. Not a polite smile, a smile that said, "I see you." We talked for 3 hours that night, just the two of us, in the corner of that party, like everyone else had disappeared. He was brilliant. He was funny. He asked me questions that nobody had ever thought to ask me before. And when the evening ended, he said, "I want to see you again. Can I call you tomorrow?" He called the next morning, and just like that, it began. My darlings, the first 3 months with Daniel were the most intoxicating of my life up to that point. He called every day without fail. He remembered every detail I mentioned. If I said I had a difficult day, he would show up with my favorite flowers. He looked at me like I was the most interesting person in any room. He told me things like, "I have never met anyone like you. Being around you makes everything feel different. I think about you constantly." And I believed every single word because everything he did matched everything he said, until it didn't. Around the 4th month, things started to change, very slowly at first, almost imperceptibly. The daily calls became every other day, then 3 times a week, then whenever he felt like it. The plans we made started slipping. I might be able to do Saturday. I'll confirm Thursday. Thursday came, no confirmation. Friday I texted. He replied hours later. "Sorry, crazy week, maybe next weekend." And I said, "Of course, no worries." Because I was understanding. Because I was not the kind of woman who pressures a man. Because I loved him. And I kept telling myself, every relationship goes through phases. He's just in a difficult period at work. He just needs some space. Give him room. Don't push. So I gave him room, and he filled that room with someone else. I found out on a Sunday morning. A mutual friend called me, not to be cruel, out of genuine concern. She had seen them together, Daniel and another woman, out for dinner, holding hands. She had been seeing him for 2 months. 2 months, while I was still giving him room, while I was still making excuses for his silence, while I was still waiting for next weekend. My darlings, when I hung up that phone, I sat very still for a long time, and I waited for the shock to hit me. But it never came, because somewhere deep beneath all those stories I had been telling myself, I already knew. I had known for weeks. I had felt it every time the phone didn't ring, every time a plan fell through, every time he looked at me and I saw nothing looking back. I had known. I just could not bring myself to say it out loud, because saying it out loud meant it was real, and I wasn't ready for it to be real. I stood in front of my mirror that afternoon, for a long time, and I made myself 3 promises. First, I would never again wait for someone who had already quietly moved on. Second, I would never again build a story around a man's silence to protect myself from the truth that the silence contained. And third, I would never again make myself smaller to fit into whatever space a man was willing to give me. Those 3 promises changed the entire direction of my life. And I want them to change yours too. Now, 5 signs. And I want you to take every single one of them seriously. Not because I enjoy saying difficult things, but because someone should have said them to me at least a decade before I figured them out myself. Sign number 1. He tells you he's too busy, but he is on social media every single evening. My darlings, let me be very clear about this one. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, every single one of us. A man who has 40 minutes to scroll through his phone before bed has 40 minutes to send you a message. He is choosing not to, not because he forgot, not because he ran out of time, but because in that moment of choosing, you did not come first. And that choice, repeated night after night, is not a phase. It is a pattern, and patterns tell the truth long before people do. Sign number 2. Every plan you make together is vague. Let's do something this week. We'll figure it out. I'll let you know. Daniel did this constantly, and every single time I said, "Sure, no rush," until the day I realized something. Every time I said no rush, I was telling myself that my time had no value, that my Saturday could wait indefinitely, for him to decide whether I was worth showing up for. A man who genuinely wants to spend time with you makes a specific plan. He says, Friday evening, 7 o'clock, I'll pick you up. He does not leave you in a permanent state of maybe, because maybe is not how you treat someone you are choosing. Maybe is how you keep a door open while you look for something better behind it. Sign number 3. When he is with you, his attention is somewhere else. He checks his phone while you're in the middle of a sentence. His eyes drift around the room. He responds to what you said 3 exchanges ago, because he was barely listening. My darlings, attention is the most intimate thing one person can give another. More intimate than words, more intimate than gifts. Because attention cannot be faked for long. My husband Chester has sat across from me at dinner tables for 31 years, and in 31 years, I have never once finished a sentence and wondered whether he had heard me. Not once. That is not a small thing. That is everything, and you deserve that. Not the version who half listens, the version who actually hears you. Sign number 4. There are beautiful moments between you, but days of silence in between them. This is the sign that keeps the most women stuck, because those beautiful moments are real. I know they are, and they are so good that you hold on to them through everything else. But when it was good between us, it was unlike anything I have ever felt. I understand that completely. I said those exact words about Daniel. But here is what I know now that I did not know then. A relationship should not be a series of beautiful moments surrounded by confusion and silence. It should be a steady warmth, something you can rely on, not fireworks that disappear and leave you in the dark wondering what you did wrong. You deserve consistency, my darlings, not moments. Consistency. Someone who shows up on the ordinary days, not just when the mood is right. Sign number 5. When there is a problem between you, you are always the one who reaches out first, always the one who apologizes, always the one who tries to repair things. And he lets you. He accepts the apology. He lets you build the bridge and walk across it to him. And just when you think things are better, the same pattern begins again. My darlings, I have to say this clearly. A relationship where only one person is consistently making an effort is not a relationship. It is an audition. And you have been performing for an audience of one who cannot even be bothered to applaud. You deserve a partner, not an audience. When I met my husband Chester, I was 30 years old. 7 years after Daniel. 7 years of learning, of dating men who were exciting but unreliable, of choosing better but still choosing wrong sometimes, of slowly, painfully learning what I actually needed versus what I had been telling myself I wanted. And then my husband Chester arrived. And I will be completely honest with you. My first impression of him was nothing extraordinary. He was not the kind of man who commands a room. He was not dramatic. He was not unpredictable. He did not make my heart race the way Daniel had. He was just a man, sitting across from me at a dinner table, asking me thoughtful questions and actually listening to the answers. A mutual friend had introduced us. She had told me beforehand, he's a good man, not he's fascinating, not he's going to sweep you off your feet, just he's a good man. And at 30 years old, after everything I had been through, I finally understood what that meant. The first week after that dinner, he called me, not a text message, a phone call. I really enjoyed meeting you, he said. I'd like to take you to dinner properly. Are you free Saturday evening? Not, we should hang out sometime. Not, I'll be in touch. Saturday evening, dinner. A direct question that required a direct answer. I said yes. He picked me up on time. He put his phone in his jacket pocket when we sat down. He ordered carefully. He chose a good wine. He asked me about my work and genuinely engaged with my answers. He disagreed with me once about something, respectfully, confidently, and then he listened to what I said in response. He didn't try to dazzle me. He didn't perform. He just paid attention. Full, uninterrupted, genuine attention. At the end of the evening, he said, "I'd like to do this again. Are you free next Friday?" Not, "Let's do this again sometime." Next Friday. Specific, clear, intentional. I went home that night and I thought to myself, this is different from anything I have experienced before. Not more exciting, different. Quieter, more solid, like something real. 3 months later, he told me he loved me. 1 year later, he asked me to marry him. And 31 years after that first Saturday dinner, he came home last Tuesday evening with flowers. No anniversary, no birthday, no reason at all. "What is this?" I said. He shrugged. "I was walking past the florist and thought of you." 31 years later, he walked past a florist and thought of me, and came home with flowers on a Tuesday. My darlings, I ask you, is that not what you want? Not the man who makes your heart race with uncertainty. Not the man who keeps you guessing. Not the man you have to convince, or chase, or wait for. The man who walks past a florist on a Tuesday and thinks of you, and comes home with flowers, because he wanted to, because that is simply who he is. That man exists. He is out there. But you will never find him if you are too busy waiting for someone who has already made you feel like you are not worth the phone call. My darlings, we are almost at the end, and I want to leave you with something I carry with me always. Something I wish with everything I have that someone had said to me at 23, standing in my apartment, staring at a silent phone. You are not asking for too much. You are not too needy. You are not too intense. You are not too emotional. You are not too anything. Wanting someone who answers your messages is not too much. Wanting someone who makes plans and keeps them is not too much. Wanting someone who is present when they are with you is not too much. Wanting someone who thinks of you on a Tuesday and lets you know is not too much. These are the basics. These are the minimum. And anyone who makes you feel like the basics are too much to ask for is not the right person. I spent 4 months of my life at 23 years old feeling like I was asking for too much, softening every need before I expressed it, apologizing for wanting consistency, convincing myself that expecting someone to simply show up was somehow unreasonable. My darlings, the right man does not need to be protected from your needs. He steps toward them. He chooses them. He shows up for them without being asked, without being reminded, without needing to be convinced. So here is what I want you to do right now. Put the phone down. Stop counting the hours. Stop reading his messages looking for hidden meanings. Stop writing the story of a man who cannot be bothered to write it himself. And ask yourself one question. Am I being chosen? Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, not when there is nothing better going on. Am I being chosen every day, consistently, without question? If the answer is yes, hold on to that with everything you have. If the answer is anything less than yes, you already know what needs to happen. And if you need someone's permission to do it, you have mine. From Loretta, who learned all of this the hard way, so that perhaps, just perhaps, you will not have to. Write it in the comments. How many days did you wait for someone who wasn't worth it? I will read every single one, because every story you write down there was once a version of my story, and you deserve to be heard. See you in the next one, my darlings.